Hey, I'm Cal, or better known as Calfreezy on the internet. Let's talk a little bit about my business plan. All right, well, most importantly, we have to start off with, well, me. So what we'll do is, that looks about right in terms of, the face could have been a little longer. We'll make sure the neck is long. Let's talk a little bit about what I've got going on. And I think it makes sense to start with YouTube. Like I said, I've been making YouTube content for over 15 years now. And it has quite literally been the only job I've ever had. And that's because I started when I was 15 years old. And ever since then, yeah, I was just fortunate enough that I didn't have to work a normal job, I suppose. YouTube, boom, started when it was mainly just gaming videos. And also when I started, there was no such thing as making money from YouTube videos. There was no such thing as being a YouTuber. That was a foreign concept. I've managed to accumulate roughly 4.5 million subs, but that doesn't necessarily include the other channels that I have. So the Fellas Podcast, Big Wedge, my second channel, things like that. In terms of revenue and what that looks like, YouTube kind of splits up really into two parts for me: AdSense and also brand deals. This is probably a pretty common setup for most YouTubers, to be honest with you. AdSense, I would say, in terms of my YouTube revenue as a whole, probably takes up around 35% of that. Brand deals takes up the rest of it. What I will say with YouTube, it has high margins. Now, that is not the case for everybody, because it all depends entirely on the type of content that you make. Somebody like Mr. Beast definitely doesn't have high margins. You see the amount of money that he spends on the videos. He will definitely struggle to make a lot of money directly through his YouTube content, and you can see from what he does and the Feastables and everything else around that, that's where he's looking to really make his money. For me and my content now, which is all very much food related, I promise you over the 15 years that has not been the case, but in the last year it has been food related. The margins are much, much higher. I went through the stage of spending 10 to 15,000 pounds on a video, and you look at the books at the end of the year and you've been absolutely obliterated, because I didn't have the things that Mr. Beast had to drive people toward. This isn't something that I'm looking to sell a share of down the line. I build all the IP in this, I keep all the IP, and for now, this is kind of just the setup for it. Also, because it's food content, you'll see high CPMs, or at least higher CPMs than I am used to. To give you an example, previously, when I was making content of me and my friends sort of just messing around, that was getting me on average anywhere between $5 to $8 in CPM. Since moving across to food, that often hangs around the $13 to $15 CPM. So I'll just put that here. Of course, it makes a difference depending on how long the video is. I never really make content with the idea to get a high CPM. That doesn't really appeal to me, but it's certainly an added bonus that I can, once again, it contributes into the high margins by having high CPMs, and also the cost of these food videos. Usually, if I'm not leaving the country, then these videos will cost me roughly anywhere between 500 to about £1,000 to make, which really isn't that much. But then, of course, we have wages, office space, legal, admin, accounting. There's a lot of hidden costs that goes behind this. And if there's one tip that I can give to any YouTubers that are getting into this space is please, please, please keep that in mind. Whenever you're talking about how much a video costs you and whether you're gonna make money off of it, please keep in mind the hidden costs. It's very easy to hire somebody and then forget to add their wage into the cost. If you're gonna film a video and it takes you an entire month to film that video, then the person that you're paying £4,000 or £5,000 a month to edit that video, they are part of that cost. So keep that in mind. Sometimes people look at it, I hear them and they say, oh, I made a profit on this video. Actually, you probably haven't. It all adds up, and I certainly fell into a trap there by doing boy math. That's what I'm gonna call that. Now, my highest performing video ever on YouTube was one that was done a very, very long time ago, and it was a blindfolded crossbar challenge. Now, it is on some ridiculous amount of views, but if I'm honest with you, I'm not too sure I am ever gonna see those sort of numbers again. It was a very special time in YouTube, and for whatever reason, sort of football challenge videos absolutely flew through the roof. If you look at a lot of the bigger creators here in the UK, they probably have a football challenge in their top YouTube videos. So this video is 17.7 million views, and I earned a total of £0 on that video. And the reason for that was it was copyrighted. So I used copyrighted music in that video and they claimed it. And so they've made all the money. And if I was to guess, it's probably about 50 grand off that video. But it was the trade-off for using copyrighted music, and whether it's fair or not is for you guys to decide. The total percentage though of what YouTube earns in my business plan is roughly around 60%. As you can imagine, it's a big part of my life. In the long run, I don't think YouTube will be the thing that earns me the most amount of money in my lifetime, but it has certainly contributed pretty much everything to where I am now. So yeah, we'll leave that there. Let's move on to the next one, which is another massive part, and we'll go with green because it's going well right now. So let's have a little look at what pops up here. And it is mine and Chip's baby, which is the Fella Studios. Hell yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the Fella Studios in general. It is slightly different to YouTube in the sense that, you know, my YouTube team consists of 3 people, and the Fella Studios team consists of 40 people. This was also established back in 2022. I am the co-founder of Fella Studios. Quick thing, if you don't know what the hell Fella Studios is, it's a video podcast production company that will also monetize your podcasts, particularly when it comes to video. We see ourselves as leaders in this space when it comes to the quality of production, understanding just video podcasts, and we believe that to be the future of podcasting in general, but also we really take a lot of pride in how we monetize podcasts as well, ultimately working with talent in what we call the shared destiny model. So if a podcast performs really well, you win and we win as well, because we feel like this is a joint venture of both of us creating a podcast. And so we work with that model. We put this together really to provide a solution to what we saw a lot of the structures of podcast deals which were done, which was you saw a lot of fallout from talent and certain companies when a podcast might get really big and they feel like they weren't getting an adequate amount of money for the size of that. Well, in this case, because everything is split through revenue share, then it's very straightforward to say, look, if this thing gets bigger, we both win. If it doesn't, and it doesn't work out, we can both just have an honest conversation and say, look, let's part this off. It's not worth your time. And if it's not worth your time, then the chances are it was not worth our time either. So it creates a very transparent relationship with talent, but also so far, a very successful way to make podcasts. We did a raise in 2023. We did an investment round. We wanted people to come in and give us their money so that we could help scale the Fella Studios quicker. A big reason why we started the Fella Studios is because we wanted creators to really earn as much money as possible from the work that they were doing. And so yeah, this was my way to work alongside creators and make sure they were getting a fair deal in a lot of these contracts thrown around. So, all right, let's take yellow next. And actually what we're gonna do is go down here. We've got Big Wedge, which has been a very interesting project to start. And I'm actually gonna have a little bit of a dotted line. It's a golf YouTube channel that I started alongside 6 other people, 5 other golfers, and then we have Seb, who is sort of the CEO of Big Wedge, if you will. And we've got a lot of exciting things coming with Big Wedge. In terms of revenue, now, we've never taken any cash out of Big Wedge. We've never paid ourselves with any money. It sort of just sits in the Big Wedge account. It's similar to YouTube. If we wanted to withdraw, we probably could, and it would probably, I would say, take up about 10% of cash if I wanted to. It performs really well, and very similar to food content, this has very high CPMs. What affects CPMs? A lot of it is down to the type of content you're making. Again, food sits at a pretty high. Golf is even higher, and that's because it's considered premium. So people that play golf tend to have quite a lot of disposable income. Therefore, advertisers want to advertise to people that have disposable income. A very high CPM on there is actually probably closer to the $25 mark. That is not always the case, but it's common to get that level of CPM. It can go higher than that. It has been lower, of course, but another big determining factor to high CPMs is also the length of video as well. So you'll notice most golf videos sit between sort of 45 minutes to an hour plus. That makes a big difference. You can put more ads in the videos, meaning people are watching more ads, therefore you get paid more for the video. So that's kind of how that works. This one is got an upside and a downside. The upside is the fact that, oh no, I knew this was gonna happen at one point. I've got to squeeze that on there. I'm so sorry, that looks horrific, but it is what it is. I get 1/7 of the profits from that YouTube channel, which is obviously still great and it's better than zero, but it's just something to think about. All the money that is made through this, it then gets split 7 ways evenly across everybody involved. With golfing, okay margins. And the reason for that is because there's 7 people involved. You have to pay for 7 people's accommodation, 7 people's rounds. When you're filming golf videos, instead of just having 1 cameraman, you need 5 cameramen on the shoot. The cost per shoot is so much higher than what I do on my personal channel because I just have one guy, Harry G Film, the GOAT, working with me. Whereas here we have a team of people. So a shoot can range probably anywhere from about 3 to 10 grand every time we go out there. And then that's not to mention that a lot of the time we film abroad for Big Wedge because of the weather. We find that that makes higher performing videos, the vibe is better, everything is better when we're abroad, genuinely. And so then you have to pay for the crew's flights, accommodation, meals, the list, taxis, the list go on. So it can be very expensive to film Big Wedge. And you'll also notice we don't really do brand deals. I think we've only ever done 1 brand deal on there. In terms of this split here, where we've got very high brand deals, that is probably closer to 5%. And then the rest is all on AdSense. But it's okay because again, we have very high CPMs, so we are still profitable. There's some ideas on how we can make more money from Big Wedge, and I'll talk about that in a little bit when we talk about the ideas and some stuff. There's a lot of potential in Big Wedge, but ultimately it was started as a bit of a passion project, and we really want to always keep that in mind when we're doing this. We've all got our own genuine business ventures that we've all got going on. So this was very much made to be a fun and enjoyable thing, and I think it's important we never lose sight of that. But it's always good to talk about the business and how these things run because ultimately it needs to pay for itself, otherwise it doesn't work. Brand deals, 5%. AdSense is 95%.
When you're talking to the golf courses, do you have to then purchase like 5 back-to-back slots?
Yeah, tee times are definitely part of the costs of a shoot, which can be very expensive. We like to play at nice golf courses as well, where, you know, each person might be paying 100 to 200 pounds a round. So you multiply that by 4 and then you times that by 5, 6, 7, 8 tee times because we don't want to hold up any golfers. We don't want to ruin someone else's day out on the golf course just because we're golf that are filming in front of you. So we are aware of that, and that does genuinely become expensive. Some golf courses are a little bit more switched on because they offer us tee times for free or a set of afternoon tee times for free, and we're always very grateful for that, and we'll often choose to film at a place like that. They're a lot more accommodating than somewhere that will charge us for tee times, but at the same time we also understand why they do that. It is expensive, and you know, golf clubs themselves aren't these massive earning businesses a lot of the time, so to be able just to give out an entire afternoon set of tee times is also not easy. I'll actually just put in here expensive shoots plus travel. I want to actually just briefly, before we go on to the next thing, because I think this is important and it's certainly going to make up a large portion of this next bit here, is actually I am going to make another dotted line. We love dotted lines here. Fellas Podcast, because I have not included that in here. This is my personal channel. Fellas Podcast is produced and monetized by the Fellas Studios, but myself and Chip obviously do the Fellas Podcast, and that, for me, 25% of my cash revenue. These obviously change month on month. This is just kind of on average, but maybe this should be closer to 30, but we'll leave it at that. Yeah, Fellas Podcast. Now, Fellas Podcast, since it's an interesting one because by me spending a lot of time on the Fellas Studios and improving monetization here at the Fellas Studios, we have a world-class campaigns team here. They now sell video ads onto Fellas Podcast, and Fellas Podcast has exploded in the last year in revenue and earnings. So over the next year, I would not be shocked to see that flip. This is going off the last 365 days. I would say every month this is probably going up like about 5%. Just important to keep that in mind to represent that little growth arrow. How about one of them? So yeah, from this, again, I split this 50-50 with Chip, and money comes from campaigns. Then we also have YouTube revenue. These are all the different ways in which we monetize podcasts here at the Fellas Studios. Social revenue, so your money from TikTok, Facebook, Snapchat. Audio revenue, I would maybe just have miscellaneous. And the reason why I put very easy there is because they do all the hard work. So I just have to turn up for 2 hours. Actually, in about 30 minutes, I'm gonna walk downstairs and do a podcast. So it's very easy as a creator because they do the heavy lifting. They do the YouTube revenue, knowing how to maximize your CPMs. They do the social revenue across your TikTok, your Snapchat, your Facebook, things like that. They sort out all the audio revenue and have access to deals that normal person wouldn't get access to. And then campaigns, so an in-house campaigns team. And this is where the majority of the Fellas Podcast revenue is made, is in the campaigns. Hopefully that makes sense. I am looking at this now. There's a lot of stuff on here. I feel like I need to just draw some nice pictures, but bear with me. Let's talk about the final bit for me. Now, I've done the math here and I've got 5% left. And again, these are all just quite rough and every single month they fluctuate. But the last bit is really all around investment. Quite a few pictures here to get in. So I've invested in startups. Interestingly enough, the majority of the startups that I've invested in are actually in the F&B, food and beverage category. I genuinely don't think that is any particular reason for that. Other than the fact that those have just been the most attractive opportunities that have been given to me. And naturally, I've wanted to invest in those. I've liked the founders, I've liked the project. This is also something that I really enjoy doing. It definitely requires a level of disposable income from the other side of things. It's not cheap to invest in, particularly to see the investment the returns that you want to see, because the hit rate can be and is often quite low. So there is definitely a case of crossing this off until you really have a lot of disposable income and just simply reinvesting it into your own project. Next up from that, I have bought myself some nice watches in my time. You're probably thinking, right, well, where the hell are they? I don't wear them in London. I'll be honest with you, I actually think from the time in which I've bought those watches, I think all of them bar one or two have a net loss. People will always tell you they are an investment, and I do believe that they are, because things do go like this. And finally, we have what a lot of people say is the boring stuff, but arguably the stuff that is some of the most important, and that is stocks, shares. And actually, I want to put in here important, and I'm hoping creators are watching this video. I'm gonna write it here, pension. I didn't start this till I was in my 20s, and I wish I'd started it at 18 or as soon as possible. Just the compounding effect that a pension has. There is some fantastic tax that it helps you out with as well. I would just please, if you are watching this, you're maybe just getting into it, you're starting to make a little bit of decent money, just have a pension, put money into that pension. I just can't stress how important it is to get that done. It sounds boring, it sounds and you almost tell yourself, oh, I'm not gonna see this money till I'm probably about 60 odd by the time I get round to it. It sounds weird, but just keep putting money in there and you'll thank yourself down the line, especially when we're in this business. This can literally just evaporate in a day. Here as well, I do own cryptocurrency. That is pretty much the epitome of volatility, and I don't know, I quite like it, it's fun. My portfolio is kind of all over the place with it. It doesn't hold a large amount of my income, but probably I've definitely made money off of it. So I started it a long time ago, and I had some good people around me that gave me good advice at the right time. So I wouldn't have it as like my primary investment thing. It's a little bit scary. I do want to just do a little bit here actually on some things that I'm focusing on. Let's start with Big Wedge, merchandise. Golf being a very expensive sport to get involved in with a very high barrier to entry in terms of money, I'd be looking at making some sort of low cost, high quality. A lot of times those two words don't go together, but at least meet in the middle when it comes to quality, but make it accessible. People having to go out there and spend 150 quid on an outfit to go play a sport to then spend 30, 40, 50, 60 quid on a tee time. It's not accessible. So at least if we can bring down the amount of money they have to spend on an outfit to go and play, then hopefully that helps somebody. There's definitely some tech side of golf that is lagging, that hasn't caught up. Tech in general is probably across all three. If we talk about my YouTube channel, I don't do any merchandise for it. I actually have some really cool ideas in terms of equity brand deals. These are becoming more and more popular in the creator world, which I think is amazing. What that means is if a brand comes to me and they say, hey, we'd love to advertise on your YouTube channel, instead of me just taking the cash from it, I will say, look, I'll take a little bit of cash from you, but can we work on some sort of equity-based deal here? Then the fellas, we've spoken about it in the tour that we did, but expansion, when I'm referencing that, I'm talking about territories and where we can go. I'll leave it here with AI, but how can we improve the quality that we're putting out there, but also improve the output as well, to improve what is definitely lower margins than these other businesses that I have. So AI to help us improve our margins. That is kind of where we're at. 2025 for me has been a great year so far for all three of these channels. I am also aware that I don't really want to add too many more lines coming out. I don't want to distract from my main goals here, and I think that's really important. I have a lot of fun in all of these things. I think that's really important to note, that everything that is on here I enjoy doing, and if there's ever been something that I didn't enjoy doing, I took it off of my map. And it takes a really good team behind all of these things. Hiring the right person to manage your money when it gets to that point. Until then, you can make the right steps, the right small steps, making sure you have got a good team running the Fellas Studios and good people working here. We've got Andrew sat in here, who works on campaigns, who's amazing at his job, recently got promoted. And not only that, he is now making sure that this camera on the left-hand side is in focus. So you want to talk about people that can lend a hand to absolutely anything. Those are the people that you want around you and working with you to create something special. On my YouTube channel, like I mentioned, I've got Harry G Film. I've got a brand manager, Sammy. I've recently hired a new editor as well. That's absolutely amazing. Like I said, I've got Seb at the helm of Big Wedge. Incredible expertise in golf. So it's putting the right people in the right places. You've got Luke, who came over from working on darts to now produce golf. You might be thinking, why the hell did you hire a guy that made darts content? Well, it's because he's sick at his job and they don't need to be the perfect fit. It's all about their work rate, their attitude and things like that. You bring the right people together and you should have something successful. So people are probably the most important part to all of these four things. I've been Cal, and this was my business plan.